Well, we wouldn't be focusing on our energy needs if we weren't at the breaking point. And that's the title of a new book about our country's energy future. Joining me now is its author, Mark Stansberry. Well, you spelled breaking with an A, B-R-A-K-I-N-G. Why is that?
Well, we are at the breaking point, meaning the stopping point. We need to examine where we are, where we're going to go for the future. As far as America's energy dreams and global economic realities, are we just dreaming, or are there realities? And that's what we're facing today. We need to debate, inform the consumers, what the book was about, being able to inform the consumer, government officials, and really be a reference for the industry itself as well.
Well, let's talk about those realities, especially for Oklahoma. Where do we stand?
Right now we stand in a great position. We are the leader, in my opinion, in energy excellence, but we need to keep working in that direction. Right now, not just America's energy center, but actually the world center. Natural gas being one of the most important parts of the energy mix for now and to the future. I mean, we think of the companies like Chesapeake and Devon and so forth, but also we need to look at the opportunities in research and development and technological advancements. We have research universities here, OSU, OU, and other universities that are, we have the opportunity to be the leader in education. And so I think that for the next several years we need to look at how we can broaden that expertise and put funds in those areas.
And when you say broaden, there are a lot of alternative energy sources now that are being explored. Where do they fit into the mix in your belief?
Well, I believe some are short-term and many are long-term down the road. I mean, when you think of nuclear, for example, in regard to the energy mix, it costs, it used to be $3 billion, it's $5 to $12 billion, probably closer to the $12 billion now, and also years in developing. And some are just not economically feasible at this point in time. So you have to look at economics, you have to look at infrastructure, and also manpower, as well as the cost factors as far as of developing these energy sources. And as far as the energy mix, I would still say that natural gas right here in our own backyard is a huge, huge factor.
Now, in the book you say America's energy dreams and the global economic realities. What are some of those economic realities we all must recognize?
Well, we need to recognize that we're short. First of all, we went through a depression in the oil and gas industry for about 20 plus years. And it's only been a few years since we've been out of the depression. And so we lack manpower, we lack infrastructure, we need to expand on that. The economic realities as far as that geopolitical, we're looking at countries like Venezuela, where Chavez is a leader there and very threatening. Putin in Russia, we have that threat as well throughout the world. And so we have to look at economic realities also as geopolitical. The weakening of the dollar right now has caused a big problem for us. And how do we compete in the world? And we are a global economy, so we have to look at it from a standpoint of where do we fit in the global economy.
And do you see natural gas as the way that we do compete in keeping our energy system up and moving?
I think natural gas is going to be definitely the leader, the bridge to the future, and I'm talking about in a short term. We're not just talking about natural gas in our own backyard too, we're talking about liquefied natural gas. There's a lot of natural gas throughout the world, and we can be a leader both in development within our country, within our state, and throughout the world.
If you had a group of children sitting around us here, what would you tell them about what our future is as a country?
In regard to energy, I think that if I were a young person right now, I'd definitely look at it from the standpoint of being going to college and becoming a researcher, or whether it's an oil and gas attorney, energy attorney, accountant. I'd look at the future as bright from the standpoint of entering and get an educational background in energy. And not only, we have OU, OSU, but of course University of Tulsa and other schools within the state that I would definitely pursue.
Now we have the books, The End of Oil and Twilight in the Desert, both books that are predicting the end of this industry. Do you see that happening within our lifetimes?
Easily could. First of all, in Saudi Arabia, according to Matt Simmons, you were referring to the Twilight in the Desert and other references that you mentioned and others that I'm aware of. There's not really the transparency as to know what we have in reserves, and especially in the Middle East. And 62% of the Middle East is where the reserves are, as far as oil. If you know, if you look at it from the United States point of view, in 1970, we reached our peak production in oil. It's gone from 9 million down to 5 million barrels per day. And in the Middle East, you know, have they reached the peak? We've yet got to see that, and we don't believe they're transparent enough to really get a gauge of where they are. You know, could it be 2010, or could it be 2015 when we really reach that peak production?